This is Tim, Barbara. We're up here on top of the mountain. It's called Hawkins Flat Cemetery. And this is a place that I found back several years ago when I used to hunt up here on this mountain. And I thought it was just, there was a part of this that really hit me and kind of wanted to share that with y'all. It's about a lady up here who really tells her own, these graves tell their own story. And so we're going to go along and
okay, so the thing about this lady is she has like 5 children 1 year apart that died in the cemetery, and we're going to show you the graves of this lady and her children, just one right after another. This is the cemetery. It's not very big. There's not a fence anymore, but there's still a gate.
But it's full of stones.
Okay, so do we want to go right to the lady?
Yeah, I want to go over here and show everybody what we're talking about with Susie Thomas.
Okay, hers is down here. So we're going to start with her?
Yeah. Okay. No, let's start down here with her children.
Start with the children. Tim wants to start with the children. We're going to let Tim do this his way.
Yeah. These are the...
Yes.
We know that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 graves here. And these are all infant children of Susie
And then Susie's
Thomas.
down there at the end, the big one at the end.
And so you can just show them here on this. I'm sure that will show up.
So this one's we kind of bounce around a little bit. So this one right here is in 1895, but this one here's 1892, and that one's 1894. So they're not in order, but it looks like we're going to be doing them going right down the line, but they're not going to be in order. But it's infant son of Elsie and Susie Thomas, born and died July 8th, 1895. 1895. So remember the date because we're not doing these in order. We're just going right down the line. Isaac. Did that one have a name on it, or did it just say infant?
I think it said infant.
I think all of them say infant except for this one, and this one lived about a year. Isaac, son of Elsie and Susie Thomas, born January 5th, 1892, died December 10th, 1893. So he was almost 2 years, right?
And I think this was her first child.
1892, okay.
That we know of, Isaac.
Here's another one, infant son of Elsie and Susie Thomas, born and died September 12th, 1894. So we have 1892, then 1894, and then we had 1895, the first one we came to. So they're not in order across here. Okay, let me read it, Tim.
Okay, this is infant son of Susie Thomas, born and died October the 15th of 1896.
At rest. Did they all say at rest?
Yes. And then again, infant. This is a daughter, though. They finally had a daughter, and born and died November the 7th of 1902. And this is what really touched me, was the fact that this woman gave birth to this child on November the 7th of 1902. And then this is her grave here, Susie, the wife of Elsie Thomas, born 1864, and she died November the 10th of 1902. Which was only 3 days later after she gave birth to her daughter that died the same day. So she died of complications, and that's what was...
Yeah, so we have Susie right here.
So tough.
And then we have, what, 5 children?
Yeah, 5.
5 children. And then this last one in 1902, she died 3 days later. Now her husband, okay, I'm going to just tell you a little bit about her husband. I have to throw this in there. Her husband, a year after, I think it was a year after she died, He marries her sister, Josephine. And Josephine they have one child. I think it was one child that survived to adulthood. But Susie also has some other family members out here. This is her dad right here. And it's JAS, and I'm not for sure what JAS stands for, but it's JAS, James maybe, Stevens. And he was in the cavalry? Is that what that is?
47th Kentucky
Infantry. Yeah. There's no dates on here, but Susie was, okay, she was a Stevens. Her maiden name is Stevens. And she has two brothers right here. So that's her dad. There's Susie, the 5 babies. And then dad right here to the left of me. Here's her brother Isaac, son of James. So that JAS does stand for James. James and Dinah Stevens, born May 24th, 1875. At October 1st, 1899. O death, where is thy sting? Okay. Death, where is thy sting? Grave, where is thy victory? What is that in between death and where? Oh, and it's exclamation mark.
Yeah.
Death, where is thy sting? Grave, where is thy victory? Okay, so he died October 1st, 1899. And what would that make them, about 24 years? I think about 24 years. Here's his brother, another brother of Susie. So Susie, her 5 babies, her dad James, that was in the cavalry, her brother Isaac that died at the age of 24, and now David, son of James and Dinah Stevens, born March 1877, died September 28th, 1899. I'm not for, let me see. Can we read that bottom? Maybe.
I think it says resurrect. I think it's a resurrection.
On the bosom of thy God, may thee rest. May thee rest something on thine, oh no, or find thee on the bosom. I don't know for sure what that says. We may be able to see it on when we play back the video. But anyway, so he was 22. His brother next to him, Isaac, was 24. They both died on the same day. Is that right? No, his is September 28th, 1899. His brother's October 1st. So the next day. So these boys died a day apart. David and Isaac at the age of 22 and 24. Their sister Susie back here, her 5 babies. Y'all, there's a lot of tragedy up here on this mountain. These were mountain folks here
in the late 1800s.
Yes, the 1800s.
Right
yes,
there at the turn.
Yeah, yeah. And there's just a lot of tragedy.
And we have the McFaddens here as well.
Yes.
That had.
Now this one was interesting, so I'm going to tell you about that. We weren't expecting this. I do have a distant cousin that has done our genealogy, and this is a relative. So this is, I'm not for sure, Brian Baker, if you're watching, I'm probably slaughtering this, but my maiden name is McFadden. So when Tim and I found this, I was just all excited, and I sent Brian Baker a message and asked him if he knows Asa Thomas McFadden, anything about him. And he said, yes, he's like a great, maybe great uncle of mine. He would have been my great-great-grandfather's brother. I believe that's right. I believe that's correct. And so here's a grave. We're not for sure. We don't know who this is. You know what? That could be a McFadden grave. And, somebody come back later and put this stone in here.
Could be, but this is called Twist over here.
I wanted to tell you a little bit about the McFaddens before Tim moves on to another one, because they also have all these babies right here. Girl McFadden. Here's Ellis McFadden, 4 years old, right here next to Thomas, Asa Thomas, and I think his wife was Miranda. And then another boy McFadden, and another boy McFadden. And then there's these. Those are marking graves also. So we don't know who these are. I don't know if they're the same size and shape as all these McFadden babies, but I just can't see them not making, bind stones for all of them. Somebody came back in later years. This wasn't done at the time of death. Somebody came back and marked these later on. But they did have this child that lived to 4 years old. And then we're going to go back here and show you this. Oh, Tim wanted to show you this one. He got off on this one in the middle of, right smack in the middle of my story. Let me see. Look at my gimbal. What is that doing? See, y'all, I don't know why it does that. I have no idea. I'm sure there's plenty of people in here that can tell me why my gimbal just suddenly goes nuts and takes off looking at something that I'm not sure what it's looking at. But here we go. All right. Glenn J. Twist. Oh, I don't know what all that is. Something Lieutenant U.S.
First
Army.
lieutenant.
First Lieutenant. U.S. Army, World War II. He died in September 1995. And then this one back here. This is infant daughter of, see if Tim can get our flashlight on so we can see, infant daughter of Virgil and Martha Campbell. So it's 1910. August 1910, September 1910. So this probably started the cemetery. No, there were some older than that.
Yeah, there's older.
1910. But this is not a Campbell Cemetery either. This is Hawkins Flat. Did we tell them we're at Hawkins Flat?
Yes.
Okay. I think the reason why it's called Hawkins Flat is because we're on top of a mountain in the Ozark National Forest. This was probably their homestead. And so they finally found a flat spot that they could build a house and have a cemetery. And that's probably how they came up with Hawkins Flat. That is the name of the cemetery, Hawkins Flat. I wonder if this is going to be a Hawkins. This is an unmarked grave. We don't know who this is. But I would think for the Hawkins to donate the land for the cemetery, that there's some Hawkins in here. Okay, Susie has a sister here, McGaw. I believe it's McGaw. So Susie, her 5 babies, her dad that was in the cavalry, then her 2 brothers that died a year apart, the age of 22 and 24, and they also have a sister. Her last name is McGaw, but I think we've read all the stones. But there's a lot of unmarked graves, so maybe she had an unmarked grave. Let's see who this is. This is her right here. Well, of course. I believe it's Elzira McGaw, born in 1873 and died in 1915. What does it say at the bottom? Asleep in Jesus. So this is Susie's sister, and she died in 1915. So we have quite a few family members here. We have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 that we know of. And this would be the most recent one in 1915. The rest of them were, what were those brothers? What dates did they die in? 1899, I believe. And Susie died in 1902. Yeah, that was 1899. Okay. Have anything else up here, Tim, on this Hawkins Flat?
No.
If you're
that's
on
it.
Finder, you can't. Y'all, we don't have any phone service up here. We can't just look up anything. But we need to try to find out who that is. There's not any Hawkins. Have you seen any Hawkins up here? And we're on Hawkins Flat. We have Campbell's, Stevens, Thomas, McFadden. There's going to be some Hawkins up here, and I bet that's a Hawkins right there. What do you want to bet? They donated the land for the cemetery. I'm sure they started the cemetery. Is that another grave back there in the back? See that rock up
Could
back there?
possibly be.
But it would just be a rock. It looks like one.
And you don't know, these people been camping over here, and there's a possibility that they gathered some of these rocks up for their campfire. I mean,
Oh goodness, surely
I'd
not.
hate to.
Oh my, not knowing. Some people
hate to-
not knowing what these are. But normally the ones that are marking a grave, they're in the ground pretty good, y'all. You can kind of shake them with your hand or with your foot, and they're in there. They're deep. They're buried there like this one. It's put there to stay.
But you don't see a whole lot of rocks around here, and so look at those rocks in that.
There are a lot of rocks over there. Okay, this is what Tim's worried about. Somebody's been up there camping of all places. See this over here? Let me blow this up for you. Zoom that in. See right there? There's a lot of rocks over there. So the only two places we see a lot of rocks is in that campfire and here in the cemetery. So surely to goodness they would figure that out. Look at this one, y'all. Look how short this one is. Don't you just know that's a baby? Look at that. What is that? About the size of his shoebox? Okay, so Tim, we didn't find a Hawkins in the Hawkins Flat Cemetery. There's not a stone. But the most impressive grave to me is that one up against that tree.
And that's probably the oldest grave in
And
here.
it's probably a Hawkins. I mean, I'm sure they, it was Hawkins Flat. They owned the property, or it was named after them. So we need to research that. If we find out, we'll let y'all know.
But we did see a Campbell in here, and we did see a Hawkins down in the Campbell Cemetery.
Yes, we did. So they were all,
they were related.
All these people up here in the mountains were related.
But the people,
and Shores
even
Lake,
if they
there was
wasn't
one.
related, they really chose to help one another because survival back then was tough.
Yes, I hope we get back to that someday. We will have to get back to that someday, and we're not far from it. We're not far from a big divide between the good and the bad, the ones that are going to help and the givers and the takers. So the main thing that Tim's just been telling me about for years is Susie right here, the big stone, and her 5 babies. And the last one, it looks like, is the one that finally did her in. 1902, this baby next to her right here, a little girl. She finally got her a little girl. And then 3 days later, the baby dies the day of birth, born and died the same day. Susie dies 3 days later. That's beautiful. Look at her stone. That's just gorgeous. Beautiful. Gone but not forgotten. And no, she's not forgotten because we're up here and we're documenting what we know about her and her family, her children, her 2 brothers right back here behind me, and her dad. I guess that's the Calvary, was in the Calvary. There's no dates on there. And it is really quiet up here. Very quiet. But I guess we're going to go. Are we done, Tim? We're going to wrap this up? All right, guys. We'll get back with you soon with another video.